Welcome back to Story and More podcast. Today you have the second chapter of the story, crime fiction called Nikki. Real or real? A man in his late 40s stood at the corner of Siddhivinayak temple beside a pushcart with fresh fruits neatly arranged while a few others rummaged through it. "How much are these apples for?" The man looked up while parceling a purchase, recognizing the familiar voice. It was Officer Dheeraj sans his police uniform. "Another? From here?" the vendor asked. Officer Dheeraj pulled Nikki's picture out of his shirt pocket. The man took a peek. "Haven't seen. When was it?" 3 days, he said. "I will get in touch if there is news." "Here, munch on," the vendor said, handing over an apple to the officer. "Not now, thanks. Keep your eyes and ears sharp. This is the second from the area in 4 months," said the officer as he walked away. A customer, curious, asked the vendor, "Who is he?" "Nobody that you would want to mess with," the vendor said. The vendor, a police informant, feared blowing his cover. Officer David checked with all his informants, but none offered leads. He rode through the main streets and by-lanes from Worli to Andheri, checking with taxi and auto drivers. None remembered ferrying the child in the picture. Nikki had vanished into thin air. Tired of a very long ride up and down the city, the officer took a break at Mahim, near St. Michael's Church. He parked his bike near a roadside stall and bought a pint of water, which felt no less an elixir flowing down his parched throat. As he sipped the water bit by bit, he watched the crowd at the crossroad. It occurred to him, she went missing on a Sunday. In the morning hours on Sundays, with parishioners and devotees visiting, the traffic near the church is always at peak. The child would blend as one among them, even if she was in wrongful custody of another whom she trusted. Mahim wasn't far from her home and en route to suburban trade locations. He slurped up the last drop of water and walked towards the taxi stand at the corner. A few of the drivers recognized the officer. They knew he would not be there but for inquiry. "Sir," acknowledged one of the drivers. The officer showed Nikki's photo to them. All denied having seen or ferried the child. "We have a WhatsApp group, the Taxi Drivers Union. I can share this picture and spread the word. There may be someone who recognizes her," said one of the drivers. "If anyone remembers anything, you know where to find me," he said, leaving his number with them. If not a private vehicle, the perpetrator ought to have transported the child in a taxi. Autos did not fly in South Mumbai. While Officer Tyson made notes on their inquiry in search of little Nikki, Officer Rekha flipped through the juvenile records in detail. "The teen in the sketch seems a newbie. There is no record of anyone resembling him," said Rekha. "Jamal may know. Why don't you talk to him?" said Tyson. Jamal Khan, probation officer at Dongri Children's Home, was more than eager to help the officers, but he too had no recollection of anyone resembling the teen at the home, at least not in the last 3 years since his posting. He ought to be a new recruit, Jamal opined. En route to the hotspots, along with officers Mira and Aslam, the inspector peeked at Nikki's photo placed on the dashboard of the vehicle. "Where are you, little girl? Talk to me," she said, and rested her head on the passenger seat, looking straight ahead. The last missing child was safely retrieved in a day of the report, but Nikki was gone 3 days. When a child goes missing, 24 hours to report and initiate search is too long a wait. Most times our department does not act immediately, and that leaves a short window for us to retrieve the child safe and sound. The inspector paused and glanced at Nikki's photo. This case seems different. There's something not right. We may be looking at it wrong, said the inspector. "Why do you say so?" asked Officer Mira. "From the CCTV footage, it looks like the child ran out to someone she knew. She's not facing the gate in the beginning. She's distracted by something. She turns and then runs out. There is no hesitance on her part. The other children aren't seen along with her at that moment." The inspector peeked through the rearview mirror. "The children were playing hide-seek and Nikita was to seek the others while they hid," said Officer Mira. Officer Aslam's mobile phone buzzed. He answered while alerting the inspector. "It is Dheeraj." "We will head there right away," he said in response to the call. He received a tip-off. A child with similar description was spotted at Mumbai Central in the custody of a beggar, the officer told the inspector. It could be a false lead. Begging with a child who was kidnapped just 3 days ago is a stupid act. Traffickers are too cautious not to get caught. I doubt if this could be her. But let us leave no doubt, said the inspector and instructed the driver. The driver took a U-turn and sped fast with the siren blazing towards Mumbai Central. As they neared the spot, the inspector told the driver, "Don't alert the man, turn the siren off." A beggar matching the description loitered with a child at the traffic signal. Begging for alms using the child as a pawn. He walked through each vehicle at the crossing until he caught a glimpse of the police. He sprinted and slithered through the traffic as fast as he could, holding the child. "Now!" shouted the inspector and barged open the jeep door. She leaped out to chase the beggar. The other officers joined her. The driver parked the vehicle at the curb and waited. He knew the drill. "She's possibly drugged," shouted Mira. The child was fast asleep. He watched over his shoulder and saw the officers were not too far behind. He swiftly entered a bylane from where he could have exited and blended into the crowd, but, to his surprise, 2 strange men blocked his way. They were watching the chase all along. He trampled. He mercilessly threw the child to the ground and continued running. His distraction technique worked. The man, as he hoped, let him get away to attend to the fallen child. "Stay with the child," the inspector instructed Officer Aslam while she and Mira kept up the chase. The man was swift, but not for long. He felt his neck wring, leaving him breathless, and hit the ground hard. The inspector had overpowered him. Officer Mira quickly handcuffed him. The beggar sat on the ground trying to wriggle away, wailing, "I didn't do anything." The inspector growled, "Quiet." She gestured to Officer Mira to lift him off the ground. She instructed the driver to reach the location. As she cleaned off the dust on her, she saw a bystander recording the incident. The advent of mobile cameras came with pros and cons. She knew this wasn't good. In no time, this capture would hit the social media and their work could get blown. She walked up to him. "Can I see your ID?" she asked with a straight face. "My ID? Why?" asked the man. "To ensure whom to contact if this capture is blown out of proportion on the social media. Police work under progress here, mister. This is not entertainment," she said and asked him to tender his phone to her. He was hesitant. Soon he saw the crowd dissipate. Left alone to defend, he meekly handed her the phone. The inspector deleted the video and made sure the video could not be retrieved before she passed the mobile back to the man. High-handedness, some may say, but to her, this was a matter of life and death of a child. If the news of the investigation gets splashed on social media, Nikki's life would be in danger. The beggar was made to board the police vehicle. His handcuffs still in place, Officer Mira sat next to him. He sighed. "Where are you taking me?" The driver laughed. "To feed biryani," he said. "Looks like the blow knocked your brains out. You're in a police vehicle restrained with handcuffs. Where do you think you're going?" asked Officer Mira. She watched the inspector walk towards Officer Aslam, tenderly holding the child on his shoulders. "Is it her?" the inspector asked, inching closer. He shook his head in denial. "Not her," he said. "But the poor being has been tortured. Her face is burnt." "I had a feeling it isn't Nikita," said the inspector. She radioed Officer Rekha to alert the child services. "We have a child disfigured and drugged, retrieved from the custody of a beggar. She will need medical help," the inspector added. Stay tuned for more episodes on Story and More podcast and join my journey in writing the crime fiction Nikki. For your information, these episodes, Nikki, the crime fiction, will be available only for a short period of time as free. So grab the opportunity and listen to it. Do share it with your friends or family who would like to listen to stories for free. And definitely do leave a feedback because I'd love to hear from you. This is your host Indu signing off.